Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Kelli from Energetically Inspired. I'm one of the Jaguar Medicine's authors. Now, in my story, I have two other people that, actually a couple, but I have two other people that I'd like to bring into this introduction as well. And these are my boys, Byron here and Hunter. And I just wanted to say, for these two boys, were my light in my darkness. They were my saving grace. They helped me come into my healing. They were my leverage to wanting to heal. Someone's pulling faces. They were my leverage in wanting to heal. And they kept pivoting me back to that place that, for me, if I was happy, they would be happy. And because of them, I am where I am now. I became a healer, a transformational coach, an intuitive guide, and so many other beautiful things. So I just wanted to bring gratitude to these beautiful souls because they are a huge part of my life. All right, off you go. Now, I'm hoping I got my time slot right. The difference between countries and all that fun stuff. But here I am, showing up. So again, I'm Kelli from Energetically Inspired. And being one of the authors in Jaguar Medicine is actually quite exciting for me. Because if someone had said to me 5 months ago that I was going to be an author, I would have laughed. Because it was definitely not within this limitation of my mind, within these constructs that I built, how I seen myself. I didn't see myself as an author. Even though I love to share my story, because my story is part of my medicine. It's part of my medicine to help others heal. Because through my own journey of healing and understanding energy, I became good at what I do. And here I am today. Now, I'm not here to do a big pitch because we're here to share a masterclass, insights, right? Into mastering yourself through energy, where I'll talk a bit about healing, releasing emotions energetically, and alignment of self, which is a huge part of my journey. And it's a lot of what I teach. It's a lot of things I love to share. I share these in my programs, share these in my one-on-one sessions, in my group healing sessions. So, again, it's not about the pitch, but it's about the offerings, right? And I want to help others to reach that place. So I'm really passionate about helping people come back to their true self, about helping people evolve and find their authentic self so they can show up in the world as they're meant to, as the universe meant them to be, so they can deliver their magic and their medicine to the world. It's all part of coming back to our true heart's desires, our soul's desires for ourselves, right? Not what our mind limits us to believing, what society created us to believe. So I help people work through those processes. So through those things, we might do those through the art of healing ourselves or immersion into yourselves. So 2 different programs that I've created. Also one-on-ones. Now, Jaguar Medicine has been such a beautiful journey for me because it dived deep into other aspects that I hadn't quite seen as clearly, and putting it on paper and sharing it was such an eye-opening experience for me in some areas. So I'm super grateful to be here. So in my own journey, like I said, because everything I reflect is back to myself, through my own journey of healing myself, because I wanted to heal for my boys so that they would have a better life, I became the healer. As I let go of the limitations and the attachments and the stories of what I thought my life was meant to be, I came into a whole nother life, a whole nother way of being, a whole nother me. So as I transformed, I became the transformational coach. As I learned to trust my own soul, my own spirit, I became the intuitive guide or the spiritual guide for others. And I'm super blessed. I'm super blessed. As I came into claiming my power, my light, as I see it as my light, is part of claiming part of my soul and my spirit back. I became the feminine leader, the divine feminine leader, like so many other beautiful leaders here who have so many amazing offerings and so much knowledge and wisdom. And their knowledge and wisdom is part of their medicine, which is why I love the Jaguar Medicine, because it is all about the medicine that we can deliver and share so we can help others come into their magic and their medicine. So it was all within the darkness that a lot of my gifts laid, and through the dark night of the soul, I discovered huge parts of myself that I had never experienced before, or never owned. I denied. I didn't think that was who I was, or I didn't have the confidence in those areas. So through all of these experiences, this is where Energetically Inspired came from. It was through my own experiences of healing, knowledge, my passions, what I love to read and learn about. So I love sharing it because the actual archetype of the teacher is one of my archetypes, one of my primary archetypes, and so is the mystic. So it's blending those realms and that stuff together. So I'm based on the Gold Coast in Australia, but I do work with a lot of international people as well. And I love where I live. Seriously, I feel like I'm blessed, having the ocean so close and nature right behind me. Now, as I get into the masterclass, or maybe you guys have already noticed, I speak fast. I transmute and integrate fast. So just keep up with me. Come back and replay. I'd love for you guys to comment. Let me know what you loved, what you learnt, anything that you wanted to share. Share your love. Share how it resonates for you, because I'd love to see how it does. I love seeing how we all align and how we blend and how pieces might resonate, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just plants a seed, and maybe that's okay that it doesn't resonate. So for me, I love to always start with the basics, the foundations. For me, foundations, it's like I look at it from when I felt like I hit rock bottom, right? I came back to that rock, that foundation. That foundation was actually my soul and became my spirit, right? That toughest, strongest part of ourselves. Now we have a good understanding on anything that we learn. We can build up from there and make this massive, beautiful city, forest, whatever you want to create, building. So if the foundations are strong, we have the capacity to go high. If the foundations are weak, things can crumble in. So understanding the basics of everything can be massive to allowing us to heal, transform, grow, understand the wisdom, the knowledge. Okay? So we are energy beings in a physical body. If we don't have energy, we cease to exist in this form. We go back into the spirit form, right? So understanding energy is our primary part of who we are and how we exist. Unfortunately, in most of our societies, we are not growing up in a society that teaches us about the energy, teaches us about our soul and our intuition, right? Which is really the foundations of who we are. Once we start to understand our energy, we have the capacity to be internally guided, to heal, to see when things are out of balance, to know when things are in balance, when they are aligned. And like anything, we need to practice it. So we didn't learn to talk just like that. We had to practice. We didn't learn to walk. We had to crawl and do things. With a little bit of consistency, we can learn anything. The beautiful thing about energy is everyone can learn it. Everyone can be a healer. We can all heal ourselves. Our body has the natural capacity to heal itself when it's aligned and given the right tools, minerals, nutrients, oxygen, all those things that it requires. So don't limit yourself to thinking you don't have that capacity, because you do. 100% you do. We just need to come into alignment of who we are, truly allowing our bodies to be the beautiful divine creature that we were created to be, so it can run at its fullest capacity. All right? So you are an energetic being. And if you start to work with energy first and then the physical, you will find that everything changes. When we start to see the whole world as energy, our whole life changes because we have the capacity to work with everything. Okay. As Einstein said, E equals mc squared. So energy equals matter. We don't change matter with matter, we change matter with energy. So we need to use the energetics first, and then the physical can change. But you won't change the physical or with matter. Energy healing has actually been one of the oldest, when I say oldest, practices on earth. It's been recorded in history since before 4000 BCE, before Common Era times. So it goes way back through the ancient traditions. It is in Chinese medicine, it's classed as qi or qi. In ancient Indian, we got prana. I mean, energy is everywhere. We use our light switches. It's energy, it's electricity, that. But it's very similar to how the energy works for us. It's not seen, it's not smelt, right? But we can feel it, just like an electrical current, right? We can feel it. We just need to start to get familiar with the subtle changes, and sometimes it's subtle and sometimes it's big. But just starting to actually read that. And for everyone, it's slightly different, how we will interpret that, because our body interprets that, our mind interprets that. So how we interpret that can be different, right? But it's really getting to know who we are and how our energy functions. But keeping it simple, don't complicate it. Our mind wants to complicate. Our mind wants to control. It wants to question. Energy and intuition, in our soul's guidance, the divine guidance, is. It doesn't need to justify itself, and that's the truth. Our mind wants to look for justification and for someone to explain itself to you. But our divine doesn't, our intuition doesn't, our energy doesn't. It just is. It just is right. And when we start to understand that and trust that, we go into the space of allowing the unknown to guide us. In the unknown, everything exists. Everything is possible. And we have the capacity to tap into everything. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't think I was an author, but allowing myself to not be limited to my mind, but to follow my heart and the energy, it was drawing me this way. It was saying this is what I needed to do. And once I started to do it and submitted it, the excitement and the euphoria that came through my body, soul, and spirit was just so divine, so euphoric. It was just amazing. And I want everyone to start to be able to tap into those beautiful experiences, that the right doors open for you when you are aligned, right? When we let go of the resistance and questioning things, you become available to walk into the unknown, into all the beautiful experiences that the world and the universe has to offer for you. All right? So the body's always reading energy, always reading energy. It's interpreting our environment. It's giving us internal guidance. It's healing through that energy. It's a beautiful thing. When we think about our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy, our words are energy. And something, I did with my son's year 1 class, which is actually, I think it was like 2019, so quite a few years ago. I took into his classroom, the year 1s, and they did this experiment, because me and my son did it at home. So I've actually got the one from his class from quite a few years ago, where they actually use words. Words are like spells. We cast spells with them, with the things we say, think. So don't limit that those things that you're thinking and saying have power to change the physical. They change matter. And for the little year 1s to watch this happen, it was quite mind-blowing for them, and even the teacher, right? And so they actually, it's like done through Dr. Emoto's, he did like a frequency thing on water and seeing how the actual shapes of it, if you Google it, you'll see it there, how different words had different shapes. So they have different vibrations, right? And so often we don't think that those little things that we're always saying have an impact, but they really do. So in this one, you can see this is what they'd stuck on it. You're the best and you're amazing. So the little year 1s created that. Oh, it's a bit blurry. Created that, right? And they spoke to that every second so day. There was almost, I think, 26 or 27 kids in the class. Now, years later, you can see this rice is still beautiful and white. It was like one really tiny little dot in the middle. The rest of it is beautiful. You would think it was just been cooked. right? And that's quite a few years later. But the other jar, and it transformed fairly quickly in the room. This one says, you're the worst and you're disgusting, right? If you actually can see in that, there's a massive difference in the color of the bottles. But the top, that's pitch black. So that's the power of your words. When you're saying something to yourself or saying something to anything, you have the capacity to change anything in the physical. So how you speak to yourself is affecting you physically. So it's really important to understand that. Our cells hear our thoughts. Our cells are like beacons to energy, right? So we really need to work on having healthy cells and having nutrition and oxygen and the water for the osmosis, detoxifying, doing all those things that create healthy cells. Stress greatly affects our cells because there's chemicals released within the brain that change the chemistry compound, like the foundations of the cell. And that's where we have the capacity to upload bad genes or bad cells, or upgrade and have healthier ones. So where disease comes from is from trapped energy or unhealthy cells, right? That have the wrong chemistry and the wrong environment and the toxins and the trapped emotions and all those things. So we can be born with certain genes that, like, everyone knows of Angelina Jolie's breast genes, right? And she had those removed. She didn't want them to, because they may have turned cancerous, but they may not have. So she took the risk of not allowing that to happen. But there's so many people out there that are born twins with the exact same gene, identical twins. One gets cancer, one doesn't, right? That disease will form in one person's body and not another. And that's because of the environment of those cells, how those cells have got the right nutrition and ability to heal, right? So understanding that it doesn't have to be complicated, it's just being aware of these things, being aware of what we eat, be aware of what we think, because those cells are transmitting that energy all the time. Everything is energy. So as humans, we're all connected. We're all energetically connected through the divine, but we're also connected through the air that we breathe. As we breathe in, it's like a web of energy. We're connected to the plants and the animals through this air, this energy that we are constantly breathing in. As we breathe in, we're receiving energy. As we breathe out, we're releasing energy. And it's such a powerful tool to use in healing ourselves, is connecting into the energy. As we breathe in, we can pull in the divine energy. Breath is power, okay? So use that. Keep it simple. Use the things that our body has there, the natural tools that we have, that our body was born with to heal. So our body is always healing. Every cell and every moment, it's trying to transform. You cut yourself, it's trying to heal. Your body has that natural ability. But you can actually excel that and create and make it move momentum, move faster through the right tools, right? So again, learning to listen to the subtle changes within the body. So when I say that, when we look at our energy, some things light us up, right? Excite us. We feel our energy expands, right? We feel light and just joyful and all full of this like excitement, and it's like we can't contain ourselves, right? So there's an energy there. Some things condense us and make us heavy, make us slow, right? Those are ways of reading our energy. Looking at what lights you up, what feels like it's flowing and allowing your body to move with it. What things feel like there's creating resistance and making you stop. So understanding that there's certain things that go off in the body. For me, a good one, like when I was going through my healing journey, was I started to notice, like, consistently that I get this pressure across my head. Now, I know that's part of the triple warmer meridian, which is part of our fight and flight, which is part of the stress release system or the stress response system in the body, right? And so what would happen for me was that, I'm hoping you guys can hear me. I don't even think the speaker would know me. Hopefully you can hear me. That I would get this pressure built up across my head. When that pressure would come up, I was like, why do I keep getting this? And it was going off with my phone, it was going off with the emails. Then I noticed go off with certain cars that would drive past. Then I realized they sounded like a person that created a lot of stress within my body, right? And then I realized that those other processes were ways of communication where I was receiving the stress, and my body was going into a natural safety process, right? A protection process. So my fight and flight was going off. The thing is that when our fight and flight is on all the time, it limits our capacity to be able to create. It condenses our energy. It shuts down the chakra systems. It really greatly affects our autoimmune systems, or our immune, digestion, all those things in our body. And this was going off just by my phone beeping. So by recognizing that, I was able to start working with that and seeing that it was patterned on through things that didn't need to be stressing me. But because of the long-term stress that I had endured, it became a pattern response within the body. So starting to recognize little things like that can have a massive impact. So by my capacity to be able to change that pattern, I was able to bring my health back online, my energy back online, my intuition back online, and probably prevented a lot of disease from forming within my body. So it was acknowledging that. So, another one for me is feeling when I get triggered, right? Or even then, when the fight and flight goes off, I will feel this like rush of energy go up my spine, and it's just like bang, I'm full of this like force, intense energy, like I want to say something, and it's a triggered response, right? So I become triggered. So acknowledging that, it's like, ooh, that's triggering in my body. Why am I triggering? What is that? Like usually it's a defensive mechanism, again, a defense, a protection. So why do I feel like I need safety right now? What has this person done? Do I feel like they're talking about me? Do I feel like they're judging me? All these things I can then sit with and feel into that energy, because that's my trigger. And two triggered people going at each other is not a healthy environment. So being able to understand my own responses allows me to heal, allows me to see patterns within my body. Sometimes I will notice that things move fast in my body, and other times I notice that they're slow. Sometimes they feel subtle and soft and gentle, right? Feeling that. Sometimes I'll get ringing in my ears, so I'll notice there's a high pitch frequency coming through from something. Other times I get those goosebumps. People always like acknowledge the goosebumps as like this, yes, that's a yes. This tingle throughout the whole body. Our energy doesn't lie. So when we start to understand how our energy talks to us, we have one of the most powerful guidance systems within the body. So I want you to go in and feel your heart for a moment. Connect to something that you love. It can just be a moment in time, a memory, a smell, a taste. It doesn't have to be complicated or a big thing. Feel how that feels in the body. Does it feel warm? Does it make you expand? Does it feel light and flowy? Does it bring a smile to your mouth? Just acknowledge it. How does it feel to connect to your heart and something you love? I use this technique all the time, especially in the healing processes when I was going through the echoes, which I'll hopefully be able to talk to you later. Just depends on time. But connecting into that place, because the heart connects us to a higher vibration, an alpha brainwave state. So if we really connect into that, we're in a heightened vibration, and we're actually more aligned to receiving the things that we truly desire. So connecting to your heart's desires is powerful. Connecting to the heart and how it feels in every moment is powerful. And then, in another moment, you could go and connect into how it's something you dislike and see how that feels in your body. See how it feels heavy. See how it changes the way you feel. So in every moment, you can then start to recognize that this doesn't feel right. But how to go back to a place that feels right. Another beautiful one that I love is feeling and connecting into the divine energy and bringing that through my crown. It will bring goosebumps, and for me, it feels lighter. When I look at it, it's not cold, but there's not this warmth about it. It just tingles throughout my body and it runs faster, right? And I can direct that by connecting into the source and feeling that. And I do it every morning with my movie, my gratitude thing. And then if I connect into Mother Earth and I bring that up, I feel it feels warmer. It feels a bit heavier. It feels comforting, like a warm blanket as I pull that energy up into my body. So starting to recognize things like that, start to see how it feels in the body, and then try and label that with the mind, with your words. So you have a better understanding of how that is within your body. So bringing the mind and body together, but always feeling in the body, feeling that energy in your body. Another one I really love is like to get out of my mind is the feather touch and the really, really soft tickling of my body. It brings a lot of self-love and it always feels really lovely. It kind of calms my body. So if I've got a lot of mind chatter going on, and I'll talk about that mind chatter, because for me, mind chatter is the flags. It's the flags of an emotion that we're not feeling. It could be a flag to your fight and flight going off. It's a flag to indicate there's something there for you to look at, right? You maybe have an attachment to a story that you think something is meant to be a certain way, but why is it meant to be like that? So really understanding that mind chatter is an indication that you're either in a stress response or that you're not feeling an emotion and therefore it's getting trapped or held in the body and not being released. So the mind chatter is really powerful to see, but you need to go out of the mind chatter, out of the story, and go into the body and feel what is actually there. Feel what is creating the stress response in the body, or feel what is the emotion that's actually in the body. And a lot of the time, they come down to the core wounds and the core things, like not feeling appreciated, not feeling loved. Maybe there's anger, which anger is really about the presence a lot of the time. Something made us angry in this moment. Sadness is usually about the past. So is depression. Anxiety is usually about the future. Right? So being present with what is actually with you now. Try not to get caught up in the stories that are external to this moment. Because if you can pull that energy up, that energy likes to move fast. It truly does. So as you feel into that energy, identify what does it feel like. And remember, it wants to move through your body. So the only time that this energy gets really trapped within the body is because you're trapping it with a story. You're not allowing it to feel and flow. Most emotions only last for a few seconds up to a couple of minutes. Anything longer than that, you've attached yourself to it. You've attached yourself to it being a certain way or a story, or that you're in a state of fight and flight, right? And that is a really important one to work with, because it's interesting. I'm finding collectively at the moment with all of my clients, just about, I would say 95% of them are coming in with this pattern response on in their body, where it runs through here and down there. Again, shutting down the energetic systems of the body, so it makes it harder for me to read the chakras. So I bring that back online, and then I have this almost like insight into what's going on in their world by reading their chakra system. So if you want to heal, you need to turn that system off. While I'm sharing that, I'm now skipping. I kind of did notes, but we'll go with the flow, right? So the fight and flight runs across here, up around the ears, down the back of your head to the sort of the base of your skull, down the back of your neck, into the shoulders, right? And then it connects up into the heart. So to shut that down, you put pressure across here. That's why when people are stressed, you see them doing this all the time. The body's smart. It knows what it needs to do. So doing this creates pressure on your forehead and bringing the blood back to your head. So when the fight and flight goes off, all the blood leaves your head and goes into your body for you to be able to run, freeze, do all the things that are responsive to that fight and flight. So by doing this, you're bringing the blood back to your head and trying to rebalance some of the chemistry within the body. So creating pressure and doing it really slowly and drawing your fingers out. I'll do it a little bit faster because I want to get through some information today. but going along, going into the temples, breathing in, going up and over those ears, around the back of the ear line. Sometimes you'll even find they go wide because you'll feel points that will actually be sore sometimes from the pressure, usually because we create a lot of jaw pressure and bite down and clench and create tension. So go around, touch those things, and then go down your neck. Sometimes I get to the base of my skull and breathe in there, and then go down my neck, okay? Creating, holding, putting a bit of pressure there. Grab the shoulders, squeeze them, and flick out. Then I'll go back and I'll rub any of the points that I notice might be sore. Sometimes I would get them here. I used to get a lot in this area. I would rub them out, and then I would redo that process of holding into the temples, around and down, and then into the shoulders, flicking out. And that will help to bring balance back into that sympathetic nervous system, okay? So that basically you're in your parasympathetic and not your sympathetic, which is the fight and flight. Really, really, really powerful to being able to heal, to being able to create and connect to your intuition, being able to be aligned to your true self, to release emotions, okay? So it's really important to have that system, bringing yourself back into a calm space to be able to work with things. You may find it gets triggered if you're looking at certain stories and certain emotions, and therefore you have the process to keep rebalancing the body and bringing yourself back into harmony. And I used to use this all the time. You know, when I was in my dark night of the soul or going through the worst of my trauma and abuse, I used to have to use this process. Once I learnt it, it became one of my go-to processes all the time. Okay. Now, the biggest thing I find that a lot of people try and do is deny their emotions. They don't want to feel what is deemed as bad. The thing is that when we deny something, we are shadowing it and again trapping it down. To allow ourselves to acknowledge it and own it, and owning it we don't want it to consume us, but understanding you're human and meant to feel a range of emotions. So to feel anger sometimes is natural. Don't let it control you, but to feel it is a natural process to being human. Yet we're so taught to shame and deny these parts of ourselves, to not own who we are as a human. So don't deny, don't judge. Number one things that you don't do, because you're pushing that energy back down. You need to acknowledge it and own it. You need to be your own best friend. You need to be feeling so comfortable that you're holding your hand through this process so that it feels safe, because judgment is not safety. Denying it is not safety. And there's these things that are natural to the process, but when we own it, it's like we hold the power, and while we actually consciously see it, we have the capacity to change our patterns and transform that energy into something different. And that is magic, when we can have the capacity to change something, but we have to own it to change it. And so often people are like, I just want to get rid of it, I just want to deny it, you know, and that's a big mistake. Because sometimes we just want to release it to let go of it, but we don't actually want to own the part of it. So sometimes we have to sit with it for a little while to acknowledge it, to own it, to see what part of us denies that part of ourselves. And the more we own in ourselves, the more we become whole. This is a journey of enlightenment. So each piece that we own is a piece of our light, is a piece of ourselves that we come back to our true self. Okay? And that is beautiful. It's beautiful. The more enlightened we come on this path, the more we heal, the more we evolve through life. And it's like, another one I used to see all the time was people say, I'm always healing. And our body is constantly healing because its cells are rejuvenating and transforming. But I really like to say that we're always evolving as well. Don't get stuck in the process of healing, because sometimes healing means that we're wounded. We're only wounded as long as we hold on to the story that allowed us to be wounded, that we're giving our power away to that story. And in so, we are a victim because we gave our power away to that story. And that's not denying that this didn't happen to us, right? Because sad things do happen. But we don't want to keep giving our power away. We want to be empowered, owning it, owning our power, and choosing where we want our lives to head. So we need to own that energy. So don't deny, don't shame, connect into, own it, And there's a lot of beauty in that. Don't let it control you. Remember, energy is supposed to move fast. It's supposed to move through you. It's not supposed to continue to control you. I used to also find another one, and I've done this myself, and that's why I like to share it, is that we would heal or we evolve through something. And then another time, like later in our lives, we experience something and we find that emotion comes up and we find that pattern comes up because there is cellular memory. And then we go, oh, darn it. I really thought I healed that. The thing is you did heal that. This is this moment. Whatever came up in this moment is now. But we reflect and attach it to our past. But this is the moment where we can push through the next barrier. Not shame ourselves because we have a certain reaction. In seeing that reaction and being conscious with that reaction, we can change the pattern. And the more we change it, the more that becomes new cellular memory or new neuron pathways. So in the future, we have less chance of redoing those patterns. But we don't need to attach it to our past. We need to be in the present. And that's a big thing. We so often flip ourselves to the past or the future instead of being so present with this moment. So allow it to be this moment. And you can heal and move and evolve through this. Transform everything by being conscious and owning it and witnessing it and being your own best friend. When we see patterns that repeat themselves, there's always a need, a desire, a want. And I say that to people. What are you getting from this? Is it the attention from the story? Sometimes we actually kind of get addicted and don't know how to come out of being the wounded person. Sometimes we are used to saying those stories that it's like, oh, yeah, okay, what part? What need are you getting? Maybe it's just attention. There's always a need, a desire, a want if we're continuing to do something. It truly is. So by owning that, what do you want? What are you getting from this? You can then see, oh, do I want that to be controlling me? Don't shame it, don't judge it. Just acknowledge it. Right? Acknowledge it. Be your own best friend. And see where that need, want, and desire is coming from. What are you underneath everything? It's an unconscious, usually it's playing out unconsciously or subconsciously through inner child wounding or old patterns or society's beliefs, and you'll start to see where the anchor of that is. And go down through those layers. What is behind that? What is underneath that? Because sometimes we have this thing that happens, the trigger or the anger is like the icing on the cake, right? And it made us almost like an explosion, a volcano, bang, it exploded. But if we actually go down, what was through the layers? What's underneath that? Get curious. Be your own best friend. Start questioning it. I wonder what's there. What's under that? How does that make me feel? The further you go through those layers, eventually you'll get to this bottom space. And most of the time it is a core wounding. And when I say core wounding, it's like something where we felt like we've been abandoned or not, rejected, not loved, not seen, not heard. There's usually this like bottom layer of stuff. And we need to sit with that and see where that's, sometimes we don't even need to know where it came from. We just need to see it consciously, go, well, do we want that to be, is that the truth? Because really we don't need to search externally. And that was the biggest part of my healing is, the happily ever after, and I share that in my story that I was looking for this happily ever after and created this happily ever after in the marriage and the kids and the house and the job and all the things, and I wasn't happy. Happiness is inside. The happily ever after comes from in here, from loving yourself, from owning those parts. So when we think, I wasn't loved enough, go in there. Heal that part of you so you love you enough. Don't look external to be filled because we're in a place of lack. The more we heal ourselves and reach each piece of our light, again, it's a journey of enlightenment. The more whole we'll feel, the better we'll feel, the more aligned we'll feel, the more our life flows. So go in and do the work for you. It's all about self. All about self. In every moment, in every choice, in every decision you make is a power choice. Do you empower yourself or disempower yourself? Are you giving your power away or taking your power and owning your power? Everything is a power. power is energy. Again, everything is energy. We start to look at it, there's an exchange of energy. We're giving it away or we're receiving it. You'll start to understand life so much better. And you'll have so much more capacity to heal and evolve and transform yourself. And that is exciting when we're empowered, truly empowered. And that's what I love doing, is helping people become empowered. And that's why I get so excited sharing these things, because it's all the journey of where I have been and where I've come from. So the world is a reflection of you. You are the micro of the macro. You are a piece of it all. So as you heal and transform and become more whole within you, your world becomes more whole. As you heal these parts of you, the world around you seems to mirror those things. Okay? Our soul seeks wholeness. So it will mirror, but it will also take you to the places that you need to retrieve. So those lessons and those patterns are sometimes there because there is a lesson in that you need to retrieve your light, your power, your energy, another part of your spirit, so you can become more whole. So see, is it polarizing, right, or reflecting? There's a polarization or a reflection in everything, and it's all in energy, right? Because we're, again, this magnetic force. We have polar energy within our body. We have like a north and south pole, like a positive and negative pole within the body. And so life is always seeking balance. Within those two poles within our body, there is a balance point within our body. So the world does the same thing. We are the micro of the macro. So I hope you guys are still with me. It is an information overload sometimes, and I love sharing it all. Just take the pieces that resonate, let the rest go, come back and watch some, make sure you write notes, comment whatever you love. Because I love sharing this stuff. I really do. And because it's been transformational for me and for so many people I know. So let me know, how are you going with this? I'd love to hear. So that is some of the basic 101s. How am I going for time? 15 minutes. There we go. So you're an individual frequency. You are unique. There's no one else like you. You were born to be unique. Okay? Thanks, Melissa. And don't compare yourself. You're here to find the true aspects of yourself and to dissolve all that is not you. So we so often are taught to be a certain way, to think a certain way. But it's time to let all of that go and come back to how you're meant to be. And through feeling into your energy and feeling who you are uniquely, the more aligned you become, the more the universe will give to you. The more the right doors will open for you, because you'll feel the energy and it's drawing you that way instead of being limited to that mind. Yeah. So the more we're connected to our true self, and I love saying this one, the more we're connected to our true self, our true essence, right? Your medicine, your magic is within your essence, your spirit. And your essence is the unique flavor that you deliver to this world. Your unique flavor. So your medicine and your magic is all within your essence and your spirit. So you can deliver your true medicine and magic to the world. Okay? So finding yourself is really important. If you want to deliver your purpose, your passion, your soul's contract, you need to come back to your true self. You need to release all the parts that are not you. Come into the true archetypal energies of who you were meant to be. And there is mythic type stuff that comes along with those things. There is like a unique blueprint of who you are. There is dark and light in everyone. But our darkness doesn't have to be bad, because in the darkness, I found some of my most amazing gifts. It was just owning those pieces of me. So often we look at the darkness as bad, but it's not. It's not always bad. It's just your interpretation of that darkness. It scares us sometimes because that's where all the unknown, all the magic can exist. If you want to evolve and shift through this world, you need to come into those unknown places, those places you don't see so much, the places you don't own, and own the shadows of yourself. Okay? So the intuition and ego is a really powerful one because it's part of our soul, right? The intuition is part of our soul, and ego, they're very different. They almost contradict each other in every moment, right? Because like I said at the beginning, the mind seeks predictability. It wants to question things. Our intuition is just right, okay? So we need to learn the difference between the two and allow them to start to work together. We need to train our ego to be okay with the unknown. And it takes time because it's going to question things and it's not going to trust. But our intuition is translogical, so it's not supposed to make sense to our ego mind, yeah? So it's really important to understand that. It's retraining our mind, because our mind is basically a protection mechanism. It's here designed to protect you and keep you safe. And things that it doesn't know how to keep you safe. It doesn't have a crystal ball, so therefore it doesn't want to go there because it can't guarantee your safety. But when we're connected to our intuition is always guiding us. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's going to take you to some challenging places. Definitely does. But it's always going to take you to the most beautiful destinations in the end. Some paths are not always easy, but they lead to the most beautiful destinations within the intuition. So learning to retrain the mind to be okay with what gets delivered through your soul, your intuition, the divine, the energy, letting it learn to be okay with that. And it's still sometimes I get caught out. Like I said, I almost stepped over the book thing, and then I was like, oh, what's going on? I felt the contraction, and I was like, went back and reviewed that when my kids weren't being little werewolves. It was a full moon, so I had a werewolf week with my children. They were ripping each other apart, seriously. But that's okay. It doesn't happen all that often. So, Joyce being a mom, right? So, yeah. So a big thing is like for acknowledging that when my marriage fell apart, before my marriage fell apart, my intuition knew. It knew. When I look back, I knew it was coming, but I was scared of the unknown. I was scared to go in that place, to be the single mom, because it was something I had never seen myself as. But it led me to the most beautiful place in the end. It was not easy going through the divorce and all the chaos that came with that experience, right? But it definitely became the blessing in disguise. So often our intuition will tell us things and we don't want to listen. And people say, I want to be more intuitive, but do you really want to hear the truth? Because sometimes our mind doesn't like that truth. It is not what it thought was ideal. It's not the situation. I always never thought I'd be the single mom. I never thought that I'd go through that experience. So I was scared to let go. But it was forced upon me and it became the best thing. My world did crumble apart and all those things unaligned to me fell away. And I rebuilt myself up from 4 my beautiful boys, which became the most beautiful blessing to me. So learning to trust, all right? If our sense of self is wavering or weak, we are limited in our capacity to trust our intuition. We're limited in our capacity to trust in the divine guidance. So if your version of self is wavering, your self-esteem and how you see yourself, you're always going to be seeking somebody else external to tell you that's the right thing to do. You need to start to have a stronger sense of self. That's like the foundation. Once your foundation is strong of knowing who you are, you can start to really trust that you don't need anyone else's opinion. People will say to me sometimes, why are you doing that? I'm like, I don't know, intuitively I feel like it's the right thing to do. It is what I need to do. And later on I end up understanding why, but I have to trust. And people sometimes, they really look at me strange because I trust so deeply in this divine guidance now. But I tell you, 5 years ago I didn't. And who I thought I was a completely different woman. So learning to trust yourself, trust in who you are, to heal yourself. The number one thing I can encourage anyone to do is build a beautiful relationship with self. The more you build that, the less anyone else's opinions, anyone else's judgments, because the less you judge yourself, the less you worry about the judgment of others. It doesn't matter. And you become so happy in yourself, that true happily ever after comes here. You don't need to have someone else's opinion to make you happy, because you are your own happiness. Yeah? So again, everyone can do energy work, everyone can do healing work. We just need to trust, okay? We just need to trust. We need to keep it simple. Energy healing, balancing, and awareness is vital to being happy, to healing. Energy work helps to restore the harmony of the body's energy fields. It helps to bring our lives more into alignment with who we're supposed to be. And it helps our body's capacity to naturally heal. So the more we align the energy and have energy flow through our body, the easier the body's capacity to heal, all right? And the easier it is for us to let go of those things that are not aligned. Letting go of the attachment and the stories and all the things, okay? We have electromagnetic fields within the body and polar, north and south poles, and a place of balance. Bringing heart and head coherence is super important to allow energetic flow. So, some people see the heart and the body and the head is like the masculine and the feminine. They're supposed to be united. They're not supposed to be separate. And for years, I was so in my head. I was so disconnected to my body. So when we start to bring the heart and the brain in coherence, our electromagnetic fields become expansive. And that means our field is stronger as well. It's harder for others to penetrate that, to affect us. But we're also connected to everything. So our body's ability to read everything and to have all of our heart's desires is easier to be achieved, right? So our capacity to manifest is much greater when we're in heart and brain coherence, okay? And we can do these things through breath, through working our vagus nerve, through meditations. There's so many beautiful processes that you can use to bring that coherence. I learned lots of different techniques through lots of different teachers, like Joe Dispenza is amazing at teaching brain and heart coherence, right? But it really is. It's about connection of the vagus nerve. And I actually have a free meditation that I do that is about the vagus nerve, bringing the chakras all into alignment, and you're bringing the energy up to the pineal gland. And when we get the activation of the crystals of the pineal gland, it actually brings that energy to your pituitary gland, and then you breathe it down into your heart. So you start to create a flow of energetic field. Once you get good at that, you can do it fairly quickly, right? Because your body starts to recognize the process. You can even use oils to, when you're in this heightened state, to smell. And then after doing it several times, you can actually just put that oil on and your body will automatically start to shift that vibration, right? So there's ways of fast tracking these things. It doesn't need to be complicated. In the beginning, we do need to sometimes do the steps and then we can start to cut the corners a little bit, yeah? But for me, I was a single mom with young kids. Finding 45 minutes every day to do certain processes was a challenge. So I looked for ways to be able to shortcut these things. I didn't want complicated. I wanted simple. Life is busy, but I wanted ways to being able to feel the best. And the more I actually committed to doing these processes, even 15 minutes, the more time and more flow, and the more I was able to create what I needed to do in the day because I had less mind chatter. So knowing these things is really important. It will actually give you time back. And it's one of the most valuable things we can never get back is time. So using your time wisely and realizing to be able to put this time into self and to your energy fields will actually give you more time. You'll start to collapse that time field actually, and things just seem to come to you easier and flow easier. So the more energetically in flow you are, and the more that you allow this field to open up, the more things will start to flow to you with ease, yeah? Okay, so I'm just scattering through my notes and making sure I've covered everything, because I kind of ramble and love to share as much as I can, and I think we're almost out of time. So I've shared about the fight and flight, talked about alignment of self, and emotions energetically. So feeling the emotion, right? When there's an emotion within the body, you feel what that is, label it. So feel what it feels like, identify it. Is it heavy, is it dense, is it light, is it vibrating? Where does it feel in the body? Is it in the gut? Identify that, label it. What is that? Is it sadness, right? And usually you can identify that that's from a past story. So letting go of the story, because if you keep holding on to that story, you will not let go of the emotion. It will come back. If you let it go, it will just come back again, right? So identify that, and then use a process to breathe in and blow out, letting it go. Feel into that area of the body, breathe in to that area, and then imagine that energy being pulled out of the body You can either transform it there or just completely let it dissolve. See how you would dissolve that and allow your mind to participate in this. It can be quite fun, and it will do some really crazy things. It will do all kinds of things that do not make sense, but allow that to be. How would your mind dissolve that? And let it be any object. Now, in any time that we release anything, we always need to create balance, so receive something. So bring some light, bring some rainbows, bring a positive energy or emotion back into the body to bring your body back into balance, because you don't want to leave voids. As you leave voids, it allows that when you release an emotion, later on your mind will do an echo, and the echo is because that is a story or pattern or emotion your body's so used to holding on to, it likes that familiarity. So it will create a pattern around that and try and call that energy back. In that moment of acknowledging that your mind's trying to call it back, you just say, I clear and delete. I literally, as simple as that, I clear and delete that, right? And it can't lodge into that voided place. But if you filled that place, it shouldn't have a place to absorb unless you allow those stories. And then you need to look at that. Am I still attached to that story? Because as simple as, no, I clear and delete that, because the echo is common. I do emotional releases on people and I say to them, watch the echo, the story of the mind. It's going to try and call this back, and you just say, no, I clear and delete that. I don't receive that in my space. And then go into that heart where we talked about earlier in the session. Connect to your heart. Think of something you love. Because when it was calling it back, it was a low vibration. You connect into your heart, you're raising your vibration. And now think of something you do love. Call in something that you desire through your heart. So it's kind of almost like a full pivot that you don't accept. You release that negative energy and you raise the vibration and call in what you desire. And that is a beautiful way to continue to release. So many other ways of releasing emotions as well, but I've got to wrap this up now. Like shaking it out, feeling the body. You can swim, dancing. I love movement. I love embodiment. I love using my body to release. So use your body. Don't just sit in stillness and just do that. Feel what your body wants to do. Allow your body to guide you. There's so many amazing processes that can be used to do this. So, with all of our energy work, I always recommend to be grounded. So at the end of any healing session or any time that you do that, I always ground our energy. Now, my way of grounding my energy is to, I just use a stainless steel spoon. And you know it's stainless steel, if a magnet sticks to it, it polarizes the energy of the body. So often we walk around bare feet and don't realize our feet aren't even polarized to the energy of the earth. So polarize, connect to the earth so that you're grounded. The more grounded you are in every experience, the more you can raise your vibration. So often when people want to kind of get out of their body, we actually need to be in the body to heal. We need to be in the body to receive our intuitive guidance. We need to be in the body to be able to move through things. So step into the body. Remember the pivot that I told you? Let go of the mind chatter. Watch for that. Let go of the stories. Always clear and delete. Think of positive things. And that's just an introduction into what I can share. But that's been an hour. And I've been so honored to share with you guys today. Again, I'm Kelli Hurley from Energetically Inspired. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. Please comment below if anyone wants that meditation that I've created. I just did it on my bed, but I did it when I was through my healing process. Put it down below. Let me know. You guys are very welcome. And I've been super honored to be here today. Love and light from Kelli. Bye, guys.